Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. My name is Rizna Fitra Natasha. Just call me Tasha. I'm from Group 7. Our material it is about how to teach reading. So, as a first speaker, I will explain my material. The first material it is about why teach reading, and the second is what kind of reading should student do. Move to the first material. Why teach reading? So, learning to read, it is about listening and understanding as well as working out what is printed on the page. Through hearing stories, children are exposed to a wide range of words. This helps them build their own vocabulary and improve their understanding when they listen, which is vital as they start to read. The second is what kind of reading should students do? The first is scanning. Scanning is used when looking for a specific piece of information in a given text. When a student scans, he looks over the selection quickly to locate the particular piece of information he needs and reads only that information, but carefully. Once he finds this information, he stops reading. The reading passage could be a selection on a test with reading comprehension question, but it may also simply be reading a schedule to see when a particular movie is playing or checking weather map in a newspaper. Scanning is a fast form of reading that does not pay attention to every detail given in the text. Before a student can scan for the answer to their question, they should think about what form the answer will take. Will they be a time? Will they be a location? Knowing this behavior will assist students in locating the information quickly. The second is skimming. Skimming like scanning, but is a quick type of reading. Unlike scanning, though, the goal of skimming is to learn the main points in a larger selection of reading rather than answer one specific question. When you skim milk, you take rigid part of the top. Likewise, when your students skim a reading passage, they should be pulling all the most essential information out of this. The most straightforward way to skim a given passage is to read the entire first paragraph, the entire last paragraph, and read the first sentence of each additional paragraph in between. In so doing, your students should be able to identify the major themes throughout the passage. Students should also pay attention to italicized or bold words, heading and subheading. After skimming a passage, a student can then decide whether to go back and read the entire selection or to scan for particular information. Skimming can be a difficult activity for ISL students as they'll often get bogged down by new vocabulary and confusing grammar. Reassure your students that when they skim a passage, they only need to get author's primary points and correct them to guess at any new vocabulary they come across and not to worry about the details. The third or the last is reading for detail. Careful reading or reading for detail is probably the most commonly used reading strategy. This is a slower reading process that starts at the beginning of a passage and proceeds to the end. When reading for details, students should read every sentence, but they should not try to know the exact meaning of each word. Even native speakers infer the meaning of unknown words as they read. Reassure your students that even when reading for information, they do not need to know every word on the page, but should try and guess its meaning from the context, a valuable skill in of itself. If students put too much pressure on themselves when it comes to new vocabulary, the dictionary may become more of burden than a blessing. When reading for details, students should aim to understand about 80% of the information they read. If they need an answer to particular question that they may have missed, they can always go back and scan for it. Yes. Reading may sometimes seem as easy as ABC, but in fact, there are strategies ways to make your students' reading more usable and productive by teaching skimming and scanning in addition to reading for detail. You will give your student the strategies they need to be successful learning. So I think enough for my material. I'm sorry if there are mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Andi Nurul Fitri Rahmadani. I'm a second speaker and my material, the first is about reading skill that student must acquire. Number 1, excluding the meanings of word from context or finds meaning in the reading context. 2, understanding the form and meaning of non-idiomatic phrases or understand the shape and meanings of non-idiomatic phrases. 3. Understanding sentence meaning, thinking syntactical structure or understand the meaning of the sentence through the syntactic structure. 4. Recognizing and understanding the rhetorical structure or get to know and understand the rhetoric structure. 5. Critical reading or critical reading skills. The second material is kind of the principle behind the teaching reading. Number 1, motivation. Motivation has an important role in learning activities. Motivation is the energy that drives and directs one's activities. Motivation is closely related to interest. There are several motivation principles in learning to read. Meaning, prerequisite knowledge and skills, open communication, authenticity and challenging assessment, precise and effective practice, favorable condition and consequence, diversity of a process, develop several ability, engaging as many senses as possible. 2. Interest. Reading interest is a strong desire accompanied by one's effort to read. People who have a strong interest in reading will manifest it in their willingness to get reading material and then read it on their own awareness. Identify 7 factors that influence the development of children's interests. A. Previous experience. Children will not develop an interest in something if they have never experienced it. B. His conception of self. On the other hand, the child will accept it if the information is seen as useful and help improve himself. C. Values. D. A meaningful subject. E. The level of pressure involvement. F. The complexity of the subject matter. Number 3. Social and emotional maturity and adjustment. Number 4. Neurological. This neurological is closely related to everyone's brain and the systems that are in it. There is a close relationship between neurological and linguistic, which a study of neurophysical state, which is formed by the words neuro, physical, and linguistic.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, my name is As Zaitun Nabila. I'm as the last speakers, so I will tell you about what do reading sequences look like. Sequencing is an essential reading skill that students must develop if they are to fully understand all reading materials. Luckily, sequencing comes naturally to most children as the concept of chronological order is reinforced from very early on through the practice of the routines of daily life. From the very first days of kindergarten, children are taught the importance of doing things in order. Each daily task contains its own inherent sequence, from tying their shoelaces to getting ready for school. Children pick up an understanding of the importance of performing tasks step by step. The importance of the defined beginning, middle, and the end is further emphasized from the first fairy tales students encounter through to the later classic of English literature. While it is clear our students have a sense of what sequence is right from the start, understanding how a sequence comes together and developing the necessary skills to identify its component parts is another matter, and it is this that will serve as the focus of this article. How to identify sequence when reading a text. In its simplest terms, identifying sequence in a text involves identifying the beginning, the middle, and the end. One of the easiest ways to recognize the order of events is to look out for the sequencing words or transitions that are used to connect the various parts of the text. Some of these words and phrases also act as signals to provide an indication of whether the event will be located in the beginning, in the middle, or toward the end of the text chronology. So, here there is an example. We will use the story The Tortoise and the Hare. The hare repeated that he has fast animal around. The tortoise challenged him to race a race. The hare laughed, but he accepted. When the race began, the hare quickly sped out of the sight. Then, being sure that he would win, he took a nap. The tortoise slowly plodded along. When the hare woke up, he saw the tortoise crossing the finish line ahead of him. So we see that slow and steady wins the race. Now let us how sequencing can be used to review this story. Let's begin. Start by drawing a large poster-sized chart with 3 boxes and label the boxes beginning, middle, and the end. Write the story title at the top. Now ask the student what happened in the beginning of the story and write their answer in the box labeled beginning.
The hare makes fun of the tortoise. The hare makes fun of the tortoise for being slow.
Then ask the student what happened in the middle of the story and write their answer in the middle box.
The hare thinks he'll win, so he takes a nap. The slow tortoise passes the hare. The hare wakes up and he's behind.
Finally, ask the student what happened at the end of the story and write their answer in the last box.
The hare loses the race and he stops bragging. Slow and steady wins the race.
There are
Okay guys, I hope you understand what I explained. I'm so sorry if I have a mistake, and I'm so sorry if my pronounce is not clear. That's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.